Welcome to the Crime Uncovered podcast. I'm your host, Alan.
And I'm your host, Derek. Today we are diving into a famous legend of Pantano, Arizona, the Colossal Cave Treasure. We're here at Pantano River Park in the region where this crime took place.
The legend is actually a story made up of several different true occurrences. It starts with Sheriff Leatherwood and his group trying to catch 4 criminals who stole $62,000 in gold from a mail train. The outlaws hid in a cave after a shootout and escaped through another exit. The sheriff and his posse catch on after a few weeks and go on to find the criminals and kill 3 of them. One is questioned and sent to prison for a few years.
The gold was never found, and after the release of the only living outlaw, he was carefully watched, and he was found going into the same cave where the money was supposedly hidden. The detective picked up on the trail and waited on both entrances of the cave. The man never emerged with the money.
That is the legend, but the true part of the story starts on April 27, 1887. The westbound Southern Pacific passenger train was going to Pantano. A 4-man ambushed the train. They disconnected the passenger cars and left the crew behind. They got away with a few thousand, but Charles F. Smith hid some of the money in the stove. Matthew Shaw and Charlie Schibel got together some trackers to find the outlaws. They searched a few miles out from Tucson and found the train with the engine out cold. The gang had disappeared without a trace.
U.S. Marshal Meade said he had collected all the 4 members, but they weren't the right people. It was found out later that the gang consisted of a cowboy, 2 former railroad brakemen, 2 other people who were fleeing to Arizona, a brakeman, and a freight conductor. Their skills would allow them knowledge on how to work the trains and successfully rob them. The gang was also active in Texas, El Paso. On August 10th, 1887, the same Charles Smith was stopped by gunshots in the night, but instead of 4, there were only 2 robbers. They were shot multiple times to scare Smith, and when they got on the train, they recognized Smith and said that they wouldn't fall for the stove trick like last time.
The robbers did disappear after taking the money, but they did leave a trail behind. Deputy Schibel followed it on, and the path led near the Colossal Cave. Some provisions and cookie items were found nearby, as well as some money. The local news wrote about the cave twisting and dramatizing the story and creating the legend. The trail abruptly ended due to weather that obliterated any means of the outlaws' journey. On their 3rd robbery, they were finally apprehended in El Paso, October 14, 1887. 2 men hid on the eastbound, leaving El Paso. The men stepped out and stood over the engineer and fireman, ordering the men to stop the train. Holding their pistols, they took the crew to the express car.
As the men fired their weapons into the air, it alerted J. Ernest Smith and Birdsley. They turned off the lights and took cover. Smith hid his gun, and when the outlaws came, he came out willingly. And as the criminals made Smith light a lantern, he grabbed his hidden gun and shot a robber dead. That other outlaw ran, and they both shot each other into the night. Smith successfully injured him, and the injured man attempted to run, but was found dead 50 yards away from the crime scene.
As for the dead men, they were brought into identification. Their relations were soon quickly found, and the gang was running out of time. In November, Joe Smith and George Green were taken in for the train robbery in Arizona. Doc Smart, a member of the gang, was also arrested in December. From there, the detectives figured out the railroad connections the gang had, and the conductor and brakeman were arrested.
This ended the mystery of the supernatural heist that happened here in Pantano, Arizona. From being able to multiply their numbers and magically erase their trails, the gang of robbers were finally caught.
This was the English Class Podcast with Crime Uncovered. I'm Alan.
And I'm Derek.
And thank you for watching.